What's up, fam and cheese? Welcome on back to another video. I know it's been a little while since my last video, but just to make up for all of that nonsense of not having a video for a while, I wanted to let you guys know that there are literally 3 that are coming at you here really soon. And this is just the first one of 3. And I'm really excited about them. They're all different types of videos than ones I have traditionally filmed, and you really gotta let me know what you think of each of them. Guys, I'm just gonna cut right to the chase. The end of the year is approaching here. Do you understand what that means? We are literally going from the year 2019 to 2020. That is exactly, by my calculations, 1 year's difference. Better yet, that's the end of a decade that ends in 10. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense the way that I worded that. Anyway, the idea that I had with this realization coming up is that I have a lot of notes on my phone. Yeah, no, I had already realized that, but what I did with that realization was I took that a step further and said, what's the use of having these notes and reminders and milestones in my phone if I never go back through and reflect on them? Which me, myself, I go back through, I reflect on them, but I thought, what the hey, they could be of use to someone else as well. I would do just a deep dive of this last year, but since I haven't done a video like this before, we're just gonna go ahead and do a deep dive into the past 6 years or so, and be prepared. Some very well may be cringy, and that's okay. We're just gonna keep on rolling with it. This is where we are. All right, and I think it's also important to say I have not planned for this video at all, so there's no telling where it's gonna lead. I haven't hand selected these or anything, so this is just gonna be some raw interaction if you don't mind that. So I'm gonna scroll all the way down in my notes. Okay, so the first set of notes, as you see on my screen at the moment, are some of the spoken words that I've already done and recorded on my channel. There's really no need to open those and do any editing on those. The last I've touched them was 2017. But as I was looking, I saw there's this thing called Sidewalk here, and I remember what this is. Me and my good pal David Ramsey were writing a song in our band Kettle Cooked. Let me see if I remember the tune of this. This might be kind of cringe. All right, Sidewalk. We're stepped all over, never considered. Watch where you're walking, you're crushing us. It's as if you're not seeing us. The cracks in our skin, we're withered again. Yeah, I don't remember the tune of this song. Yeah, anyway, the cracks in our skin, we're withered again. We have no color. You spit in our face, we don't like the taste. Disgraced. That's a little look inside the poetic genius that is a sophomore in college there. So, just a little look inside here. There's a note that I have called McMurray Thoughts, and it's spelled with a Z, so just let that show who I am. McMurray Thoughts was really where I went to write all my deepest, darkest thoughts at the time when college was really, really tough. So maybe on another day I'll handpick what I show you in there. There's just some really deep and intimate stuff. And all these that you see here are, with the quotation marks, or other spoken words that I've written. Okay, this one's pretty cool. There's just this random note of like to-do list things. When I would think of them, I'd just write them down in certain notes, and this is one from a long time ago. This is where, at the start of 2017, I wrote a 2018 personal character goal. I wrote down confidence and wording and standing for something. I kept a little prayer list right above that too, so maybe you see your name on this list from if you're a friend that I've had since 2017. And then I also have a goal for ACM, which was our college ministry at the time, which was growing from community in the group to pursuing community outside the group. And I think we saw that done pretty well. So that was a good group to be a part of. I would have random notes like this where I would start with a thought, and I don't know if I wanted it to be a sermon or if I just want to remember stuff like this. But basically all this note said is like, start with this and end up at this, which, to take you through it. Who are you discipling? Give a few seconds. How did you feel when I asked that question? What were the first things that came to your mind? Do you believe that God desires to multiply your life as numerous as the stars are in the sky? And what if I told you there was a practical example to follow for multiplying your life in the real world, which, looking back, I'm like, well, the real world is it's not like there's a separation, but I get where I was going with that. That's an interesting one. So this was actually a big revelation moment for me. I hadn't started my list that I'll show you here in a second, but this is a big revelation moment for me. It says, "Is God not well within his new covenant rights to punish us? Can a man scoop fire into his lap without his clothes being burned? Whether you look at your rough seasons as punishment or trial, they're both designed to pull you back to the ultimate good, which we recognize is God." That's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, but man, good revelation, Kyle, from April 2018. Yeah, I'm going back through and reading some pretty interesting little notes. April 29th, 2018. Maybe April is just a good month for me. I don't know. I said the Bible can sometimes be like basketball games. If you watch the highlights from the game, you might wonder, why did he bite on that pump fake? Whereas if you were watching it live, you would see that he hadn't pump faked the past few possessions. There are other examples as well, but the point is, if you take a verse out of Scripture and point to it as something that proves a dualistic truth, you're doing a disservice to people by showing them the highlights. You understand the game in fullness if you read the whole chapter, and furthermore, the whole book, and furthermore, the whole Bible. Man, good word. I think sometimes it's just an issue of setting aside time to watch the whole game. Or, obviously, in other words, read the whole book. I like how some of these notes are just completely unfinished, or just things that I wanted to work on at a season or at a point and never got back to them. Like there's this note I have open here. It just says, "Walking on eggshells," in parentheses, "encouragement and discernment." Oh, I kind of like this note that I found here. May 11th, 2018. It reads, "Pilate wasn't that bad of a guy. He was going along with the popular vote. He pleased the people. He was chill. And he killed the savior of the world." Okay, so this is the note where I started to really formulate things that I had heard that were important in my life. But I hadn't started to organize it very much, so as you see it, it's just this glob of just things. It's really kind of incomprehensible where one thought stops and another begins. Here reads, May 23, 2018, "They told me I could be whatever I wanted when I grew up, ... Seems like I chose to be a walking contradiction." I didn't care to elaborate on that. That's just where the note ends. Oh gosh, this is deep. I'm just kidding. That's kind of met with an eye roll right there. On June 25th, 2018, I said, "Technology fills the role of tech knowledge tree." Really going deep with that one. Really getting to the core of things. For Christmas in 2018, I started making a list. Only got 2 items on it, but you know, my Christmas list reads, nice headphones and Teddy Fresh hat. I never got that Teddy Fresh hat. I think I will be okay without it, though. Oh my gosh. On October 1st, 2018, I wrote down a dream I had because I kept forgetting dreams that I'd have, and I wanted to remember this one. I was in a real-life PUBG in my dream, basically, which is a Battle Royale style game. But right when I did, the other dude hopped on me and started strangling me. That's when a director yelled, "Cut!" and we all started laughing with each other. My character had been going as if he didn't know it was not real, then just snapped into laughing with them. It was wild, but a solid dream. And I know you got all of that and understood it perfectly, and that was really worth talking about. So I have some 2019 lists and other spoken word things, but the real thing I just wanted to spend a little bit of time on, I have 2 sets of notes. One of them is called Important Things That I've Heard, and the other is called Important Things That I Think. And one of them is stuff that I've picked up along the way that I've heard other people say. The other one is stuff that I've thought of that I also wanted to take down. So if we start, I just wanted to do like maybe my first 2 and then skip to my last one. The first one, and also Important Things I Think, everyone is pursuing a light at the end of the tunnel. I think the light that everyone is pursuing is the beauty of God. That's all every theology, religion, science, or art is after, the genuine light of God. Maybe that's why it's called enlightenment. That one was way back when. Some of these I just feel like explaining, and that's the tough part of this, I think. Okay, this one was a good one. We nonchalantly profess that Jesus is better than life itself, yet in the same breath we give material possession higher standing in our own lives. Practices like regular fasting help us to practically give God our focus back, to give him that place in our lives back. It materializes the better than life status. The last 2 I have in this list is, the first one says, "Don't find me wanting find me willing. And the one after that says, maybe my prayers always end up finding their way back to me because I think that all the weight of saving people falls on my shoulders. Maybe, just maybe, that Spirit's subtle nudge to let that go. And just to spend a little time in important things I've heard. This one's really good. This is the first one that I have in there. It says, you have to recognize you're in the pain cycle and do something about it. Focusing and setting aside time for God puts you in a peace cycle rather than a pain cycle. I think that's an interesting thought, but I can't remember how that was fleshed out in the rest of the talk that I was listening to, so that's disappointing. And then I think it's really cool to start with these two because it shows how far kind of I've come in hearing things that are important. Because another important revelation to me that I kept down was, not only will relationship with God give life to the spirit after death, but also to the body in life. So that's saying we don't just have life in heaven, we have life right here and now, which seems like a pretty surface level realization, but it was really big for me at that point in time. So fast forward a little bit, just a couple more here towards the bottom of this list to reflect on. The first one I want to share with you is the goal of spiritual maturity is not self-improvement, it is transformation into people who live to love others. So that's basically saying that spiritual maturity goes beyond something like self-help or a way to just be a better person. It's literally transforming into a person that self-sacrifices, someone who goes all out for the people around them. And of course, there are healthy ways to do that without completely tearing yourself down in the process. Ooh, this one's good. So one of the things I took down says, while such teaching, quote unquote, in the moment is helpful, for instance, when you have a flat tire or need to unplug a toilet, learning in a structured manner has greater advantages. Let's be honest, even those who advocate a quote unquote felt need or as needed learning approach start their children in the 1st and not the 5th grade of school. The last one that I'll share with you has been really important for me, and I've used it in a lot of conversations. It says, veer left is only a good rule to stay out of the ditch on the right. So in other words, if you are crashing into the ditch that's on your right and someone tries to tell you veer right, that's not going to be good advice. However, if you are going into the ditch on the left, then veering right would be a really good idea. This is basically saying the same applies to certain advice. Sometimes it's not good to give a certain rule or reason or advice when someone is going through a certain season as opposed to when they'd be in another. I wish I could go through and explain all of these, but that would take probably the rest of this year. And so I will probably not do that. I hope y'all got something out of this video. If you did, let me know. I am hoping and praying for all of you that 2020 is the best year yet in whatever way that is. I love all of you, and until next time, I will see you in the next video. Peace.